Productivity is about balance. It's not biased towards any one medium. Take the time to choose your tools intentionally, not just habitually. Dial in that sweet spot for you. And I would rather spend a couple of weeks or even a month testing something out, trying it to find out that this is actually a tool that's going to save me hours and hours down the road for the rest of time as I use that. That investment of time can help you save lots of time in the future. So again, choose tools intentionally, not just what you've used out of habit. Hi, I'm Chris LeBrun, your host of the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. As someone who's never been afraid of dreaming big and going for it all, I often find myself with a lot on my plate. I'm a husband and father, a nonprofit fundraiser, and an entrepreneur. What I've realized is my view of productivity was pretty toxic. After decades of believing that in order to do more, you had to work harder, I began to see productivity as this beautiful thing. Holistic productivity is the idea that you can accomplish your professional, personal, and purpose-driven goals in a healthy way, and doing so will make you happier and more fulfilled. Join me each week as we break down myths about productivity, share practical tips for maximizing your time, energy, and focus, and hear from others about their productivity journey. This is the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. Hello and welcome to episode number 32 of the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. My name is Chris LeBrun. I'm the host of the show. I'm a productivity coach and just so grateful that you are here for this episode. Man, it seems like just a couple weeks ago that I launched this podcast. And now here we are on episode 32. Thank you for being here with me on this journey. It's so great to have you here, to have you listening in, and to have you investing in your goals. That is really the purpose. The reason that I do this podcast is to help you dream big, plan smart, and live fully. So thank you for being here. And, before we start this episode, just have a quick couple of questions for you. Are the goals that you've set for yourself aligned with your values? That's question number one. Are they aligned with your values? Question number two, do they help you achieve the vision that you have set for your life? Now, these may seem like obvious questions, but I can tell you firsthand, this hasn't always been the case for me, and it isn't the case for everybody. Not that my goals were bad, right? They were just goals that weren't as fulfilling. These were goals maybe that I thought I needed to have rather than goals that actually helped me get closer to achieving the life that I wanted for me and my family. Having our goals aligned with our values and our vision means we actually need to know what those things are. And that's something that a lot of times we don't invest the time and effort into identifying and understanding what those values and that vision really is. We say, shoot, I know what my values are. I want to be a good person. I want to provide for my family. And that's a great place to start. But is that all? Is that everything that you value? What do you want your life to look like as a result of those values? Now, I'm not going to dive too deep in this because that's not what this episode is about. But if you have questions about how to identify your values or your vision and how to align those with your goals, feel free to jump on the 20-minute strategy call that I offer. It's absolutely free, no strings attached. I'll put a link in the show notes. But if that would be something that's helpful for you in identifying those or figuring out how to align your goals with your values and vision, I'd love to talk with you. And so again, you can find that link in the show notes. Regardless of whether you jump on a call with me or not, make sure that you are aligned and that you don't waste any more time on goals that just really aren't for you. Like I said, so glad that you are here today. This is a fun little episode talking about the differences, the advantages, the benefits, and the pros and cons between paper and digital productivity tools. Now, I remember growing up as a kid, they would ask you at the grocery store, do you want paper or plastic? Now they don't even give you bags unless you pay for them in most parts of the country, certainly where I live, but I digress. Okay. The question today is, when it comes to your productivity tools, do you prefer paper or digital? This is a question that I've asked on my school community, and we got some very mixed results. If you have not joined the community on School, the Holistic Productivity community on School, I'll put a link in the show notes for that as well. Would love to see you there. But again, asked this question, got some mixed results. There were some very passionate answers from people. So we're going to dive into this topic today, but I really want to set the ground rules, right? There's no right or wrong answer on this, number one. And this is an issue of preference. I'll talk about my strategy a little bit later, but I'll preview that right now. I like both. I think there are benefits to both. And there are also pros and cons for both, right? So we're going to look at that. You might ask, why is this important? I think it's important for you to know all the sides of an issue so that you can make the best decision. And you say, decision, what are you talking about? Most of us have never made a conscious choice about our productivity tools. We just sort of use what's in front of us, or worse even, we don't use anything at all. So you may not understand what you have available for you, what you're missing, what you're not missing, and that all of these things that could save you time and money. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of specific solutions. I may save that for another episode. But what we're talking about today is just in general. And when I say productivity tools, on the paper side, I'm talking physical planners, notebooks or journals, paper calendars and to-do lists, right? On the digital side, this is software and apps that allow us to do project management, calendar and to-do apps, digital journals, all of those sorts of things. So we're going to start off by looking at paper productivity tools and why it still works. This is not an outdated piece of equipment here. Science actually backs paper in terms of our productivity. Writing by hand activates more areas in the brain that are tied to memory and learning. There's a 2024 study from the Norwegian University of Science and Technology that found that handwriting strengthens neural connections compared with typing or tapping or whatever you do on your digital app. Writing something down doesn't just record it, it reinforces it. And the act itself builds your memory like a muscle. That leads to better recall and comprehension. Students who handwrite notes retain more conceptual information. Using paper and pen reduces screen time. It gives your eyes and your brain a break from the constant blue light and from all the notifications that we can get throughout the day. Paper encourages reflection. Whether it's journaling or just writing out ideas, it fosters this idea of mindfulness and gratitude and even deeper thinking. And that can be fantastic when you are strategizing your week and planning your goals. Paper also offers creative flexibility. You can doodle, diagram, you can mind map. All of these things are a natural fit for paper and pen. And I'm not really much of an artist, but I definitely know I can listen better when I'm doodling or drawing or something like that. And again, I don't want anybody to ever see those because they're not good, but that helps me stay focused mentally on what I'm hearing rather than having my mind going someplace else. Okay? Paper does have some drawbacks. It takes a lot longer to write out recurring or structured tasks. It can feel like you are writing the same thing over and over and over, week after week or day after day. I put into my planner my commute time. And so that is something I'm foreshadowing now what I use, but I write that into my physical planner every day. That can feel like a lot. I get that. Okay. Another downside to paper is there's no built-in automation. Everything is manual. We just talked about that, right? Everything is manually. Paper also means one more thing to carry and keep track of it. I can't tell you when I was taking notes in a little notebook, how many times I was like, oh, where's my notebook? I had to look for it. I had to put it in my pocket. I had to have it always with me. Paper is almost impossible to search quickly and easily or index your old notes. And I remember times where I would spend 15, 20 minutes flipping through multiple paper notebooks trying to find that one note that I knew I had written down, but I wasn't sure when I'd written it. I'll do a little foreshadowing here, but I have moved almost exclusively to digital note taking. There's still times when I use paper, but that is just, a huge benefit, the ability to search. So let's switch to digital productivity. Where does it shine and where does it struggle? Well, there is an efficiency level here, right? It's great for recurring meetings, repeating tasks, drag and drop priorities. If you want to move something from 4 today till 3 tomorrow, it's a lot easier to do that with digital than it is with pen and paper. Of course, there are reminders and notifications that we can have with digital applications. This helps you keep on track, but only if you manage them, not the other way around. I think we all know that notifications, reminders can get a little bit out of control. Probably one of the strongest arguments for digital is collaboration. If you are working with a team, it is almost impossible to share your written plan when it's on paper. I know you can print things out, but if you're putting that in your journal or in your paper planner, you have to share that around the office for everybody to see. That would be near impossible. So digital offers a lot of tools around collaboration, on tasks, on plans, on notes. You can instantly share meeting notes out with everybody in the meeting. And so that is a huge benefit of digital over paper. I talked a little bit already about searching. Digital note taking also allows you to tag and connect ideas with keywords. So that can provide a lot of structure to your notes. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I use here in a minute, but that is fantastic. The other advantage to digital is it's always with you, right? We all have our phones. We all have those with us everywhere we go, good, bad, or otherwise, right? So there's no extra gear to carry. Your phone now is your planner, your notepad, your to-do list, your calendar, all in one, okay? But there are some drawbacks to digital. A lot of apps now come with monthly subscriptions. That can add up very quickly. I will throw this in right here, and I know I said we weren't going to talk too much about specific apps, but I have found that I am liking more and more the native Apple tools that come with my phone, partially because they don't have any subscriptions. I'm cheap, but they actually work really well. And I'm talking about reminders, I'm talking about notes, I'm talking about calendar. So those can be very useful and beneficial for you. And so don't sleep on those just because there's some fancy app out there that has a monthly subscription. Digital can create overload. Too many apps, too many notifications, just one more thing that we have to worry about. So be careful with that. Don't get overloaded and overwhelmed. Digital tools make it easy to plan, but sometimes too easy to overplan. What do I mean by that? We can get caught in these project management tools where we're mapping out every single thing and tagging people. There is a lot of value to that, but make sure it is not taking over and using all of your time. Another downside to digital is your reliance on power, Wi-Fi, and devices. I was at a conference not long ago and really fantastic speakers, and I was taking a lot of notes. And I mentioned I'm almost exclusively on digital now, but that meant that I had to have a battery pack with me because my phone was going to die before the day was over, as many notes as I was taking. So that can be a challenge. If your apps require Wi-Fi, are you connected to a Wi-Fi source? So that can be a challenge as well. You don't need that with paper and pen. You just write anywhere and everywhere. There are some things that you may want to be concerned about with privacy and data risks if the tools you are using are cloud-based. And I would say there is a lot of reliance on applications like Google Docs. Those are not secure. Even though they are not shared, it is not completely private and people can get access to those. So just be careful what you are putting in the cloud and make sure that it is not accessible to people that you don't want it to be accessible for. The other downside of digital is distractions. Look, raise your hand if you have ever picked up the phone to look at your calendar, to look at your to-do list, and somehow you start scrolling on Instagram, right? Or you start playing a game, or you start getting distracted, and you're like, wait, 10 minutes ago, I was trying to get onto my to-do app or my calendar. So make sure that distractions are not bothering you there. Now, a hybrid method is something that I use. It can harness, I believe, the power and the benefits of both and sort of alleviate some of the downsides of each. Many professionals plan their strategy on paper, but manage the execution of it digitally. So, what do I mean by that? Well, we are well into fourth quarter now, and that means for a lot of people planning 2026, planning the new year. That might be more efficient to do it on paper and then transfer that into your project management app. It might save a lot of time to have that all created out ahead of time and then execute it digitally, right? They send you the reminders, they send you the notifications, they have the collaboration tools. So that might be very helpful. Similarly, you may want to plan your week out in your journal using the Sunday strategy page in your Holistic Productivity Planner, right? And then plug your top 3 goals into a digital task app so that you can, again, be reminded or whatever. Here's something to consider. Paper helps you think. Digital helps you act. And the real productivity magic happens when you connect the two. I've been sort of previewing my method. I love planning on paper. I use the Holistic Productivity Planner. I use my Sunday strategy to map out the week, to look at all of the things that are coming up. It keeps me organized through the week. And I know that I spend time writing out those recurring weekly meetings multiple times, but it helps me reinforce and reminds me about the schedule that I have coming up. If it's all on digital, it's so easy for me to not look at it until the day of. I'm like, oh shoot, I had a project due today. So when I can see that, I can look at it for a week ahead. I can see the monthly calendar there. I have a lot more understanding of what is coming up. It reminds me about my schedule earlier, and I am more prepared. Now, I also keep a digital calendar as well, and you could say, isn't that overkill? Isn't that non-productive? Well, I do like the reminders. Sometimes there are projects or events that I know about, sometimes 6 months or a year even in advance, and I want to get that on my calendar. And so I do have a digital calendar that I do long-term scheduling with, but I go back and I look at that as I'm planning out my quarterly schedule and planner each quarter. Now, as I mentioned, I'm almost exclusively digital for note taking. I love taking notes on paper. I have a great notebook that I've used for years, but it was just too hard to keep having to search through that to know where those notes were. I was losing notes, and I love the ability to keyword things so that I can find them easier. I was using Notion, but I've recently switched to a software called Capacities. What I like about that is it comes with several presets. Each thing in Capacities is called an object, and they have a lot of presets for events, for people. I found out that I was creating a lot of work and spending a lot of time in Notion creating the infrastructure. It's kind of a blank canvas, which I loved in some ways. I nerded out on that a little bit, but it was taking too much time to create some of these basic objects or things that I needed on a regular basis. And so I love that Capacities has that. What I need to do now that I've been using it for about 6 months is to go back in and do a little bit of cleanup with my tags, with my categories. I didn't understand at first how they interacted with each other and some of the functionality there. So now that I have a better understanding of it, I do need to do a little bit of cleanup, but it shouldn't be too bad with that. I will put a link in the show notes. If you have not heard of Capacities, if you want to check that out, I will put a link for that as well. But what are the takeaways that we can learn from this short little episode today? Productivity is about balance. It's not biased towards any one medium. Take the time to choose your tools intentionally, not just habitually. And I know that that means, trying out different things, using different apps, using different paper products, but that can really help you dial in that sweet spot for you. And I would rather spend a couple of weeks or even a month testing something out, trying it to find out that this is actually a tool that's going to save me hours and hours down the road for the rest of time as I use that. So that investment of time can help you save lots of time in the future. So again, choose tools intentionally, not just what you've used out of habit. Again, I would say use paper for reflection, for strategy, and for memory building, and use digital for execution, automation, and certainly for collaboration. Simplify your digital stack wherever you can. I think fewer tools is better, and make sure that they can work with each other. If you have more than one or more than two tools, right? Make sure that they can integrate together. That's why I recommend using some of those native Apple products if you're on Apple, because it's all integrated and it works together. Here's an idea for your weekly ritual. Sunday, plan on paper, look at the big picture for your week. Monday through Friday, execute digitally on your daily tasks, right? And if you want a tool to help you plan on paper, again, I highly recommend the Sunday Strategy Worksheet and Guide. That is absolutely free on my website. Link in the show notes where you can get that. So that is the show for today. Thank you so much for being here. You can find the show notes. I keep referencing those. That is at holisticproductivity.com/32. Make sure you check those out. If you are subscribed to the podcast, if you follow it on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube, I've got good news for you. You will be one of the first ones to get our next episode when it drops on Tuesday. If you are not subscribed, if you do not already follow the show, very simple solution. You don't need to miss out. You can go to your favorite podcast platform. You can go to YouTube, like, follow, subscribe, all of that stuff, and you will get the next episode when it airs. If you like the show and you find it valuable, if you could do me the favor, just rate the show. We love seeing 5 stars. That tells somebody else that's looking at this, hey, this is a quality show and I found value in it, and so will you. That's what you are saying with you. That's what you are saying with your review, with your rating. It's not about me. It's about helping the next person who's struggling with their goals and needing help. That's what you do when you provide that. So thank you for doing that. Be sure to follow at Holistic Productivity on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, LinkedIn, YouTube, Substack, YouTube. I said that twice for some reason. Go to YouTube, check out the show there, and you can get a lot of great productivity tips and motivation throughout the week. And I also would love to have you join the Holistic Productivity group on School. It is growing every day, and this community is so great. It's not about me. Again, it's about the community coming together, helping each other be more productive. And we've got people literally from all around the world, Australia, Europe, just people all over the place who are helping each other grow. And there's great resources on there. It's absolutely free, no cost. If you don't want to pay a dime, you don't have to. So come check us out on School, link in the show notes. Again, thank you so much for being here. As I've said at the beginning of the show, as I've said in every episode practically, my goal is to help you dream big, plan smart, and live fully. So thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. Take care.